in the country's best interest, and certainly not in the interests of what President Ramaphosa and the government of national unity now tries to achieve, for the city of Tshwane to be governed like we've seen the city of Johannesburg being governed and the city of Ekurhuleni being governed. So it's very important to make that point. This is the capital city, just like Johannesburg is the biggest economic hub of the country. But I also just need to point out that we don't have an agreement with the ANC in Tshwane. Our agreement is with our multi-party coalition partners, ActionSA, Freedom Front Plus, IFP, ACDP, and there is no requirement.
Party lacks a legitimate case for action against the mayor.
This became clear to me earlier this week when I received a call from the regional secretary of the ANC in Tshwane, George Matjila. Matjila was extremely upset after a new tender has been awarded for waste contractors in the city. The tender now specifies that there is performance requirements in place and that trucks should not be older than 9 years, that these trucks should have tracking devices, and that the truck should have a valid e-notice.
We are on the line with the regional secretary of the ANC in the Tshwane region. There are developments in the city of Tshwane where they are involved. Ntate Matjila, dumelang.
Dumelang, Reis.
Le tlhole.
No, we are fine, thanks. And how are you?
No. I'm not okay, man. The city is going through lots of changes. We're seeing this government of national unity. People are threatening us that once it comes in, DA will continue doing what it's been doing since 2016. And that is disappointing African people and those living in townships in particular. This motion of no confidence, what sparked it?
Well, it has more to do with service delivery. You would remember that we've always advocated for stability in the city. Hence, for the longest period of time as the ANC, we were very quite supportive of the government of the day, for stability. But it seems things are not getting better. So that's the reason.
And of course, the obvious question is, the DA accuses the ANC that it was sparked by the waste removal, new tender, new performance regulating procedures. I think in your defense, I would also do the same. This just shows me the plight of SMMEs working against the economic upliftment of the city of Tshwane, because where it sees Africans working, instead of supporting these guys, it puts more punitive measures. Why is a 9-year-old truck seen better than a 15-year-old truck? What is the rationale?
Well, my brother, we have raised a number of issues. JQ of the DA decided to pick up on the only thing for her own reasons. I mean, there was a conversation between me and Jackie around the exclusion of black business people. There was no tender discussed. I mean, we can't discuss a tender with Jackie. Jackie is not supply chain. So the discussion was around the exclusion. Remember, the ANC the ANC is biased to the left, the poor anything that happens to people who are on the ground, people who are vulnerable, people who are trying to uplift themselves, we will obviously come to their defense. So that is what we spoke for. We requested a meeting so that we have an understanding of what are issues. So she decided to pick on that only issue, whereas there were a number of issues that we raised.
Yeah, no, and I'm sorry I have to discuss this thing with you, just so we get it out of the way. We go strictly into council, because I mean they are using it to rubbish your genuine concerns of raising this motion, because they are putting these things, and I would want to pass it with an agreement that I would want to talk to those who are directly concerned. So here's the thing. There is no council in Gauteng that can confidently say they can survive any motion of confidence. So how confident are you that you can topple the DA rule?
Well, the situation is different now. Remember, I mean, over the weekend we would have heard what happened Mashiaba said. He's also not happy about how things are happening, because he's also stating the stability and the services. So it's our concern. So we are hopeful that we'll be able, because Hemen Mashiaba's number is what we need.
So ActionSA has given you the numbers to topple what we call the.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of dissatisfaction among parties that are represented in council. So over and above the parties that we've been working with, there are those who are approaching us. So there's nothing up to this far that I should divulge. At the right time, we'll speak about this, because the talks are on. So what I was saying is that you would have heard that Hemen Mashiaba is also not happy about some of the things that are happening in the metro in general.
All right, no. So what numbers are we talking about? Are you at liberty to disclose what numbers do you have and what gives you confidence?
No, I'm not going to speak about numbers. It's something that we'll speak about at a later stage.
Let's talk about previously there were issues in many councils of open ballot and stuff. Will that give you an issue, and which way do you prefer? Do you prefer people to vote consistent with our democracy, to say their votes must be kept a secret?
Well, the regulations are clear that when you vote for a position of the mayor, the vote must be secret. So we'll follow the rule.
DA has in the past threatened and somewhat in an undemocratic way, pressurized their people to prove how they voted. And this matter did not sit well with many political parties.
It's unlawful. We can't even get there. It's unlawful. We speak about things that are legal, and things that are legal. Okay. It's unlawful to want to interfere with one's vote.
Okay, no. Let me just wish you good luck on that. Let's just hope the DA will not do what they did in the past by pressurizing people to vote in a particular way, whether they call it a party line or whatever. I just want to use this little time to speak about the ward committees. The 27th of July, many wards in city of Tshwane are going to do their ward committee elections. Do you want to give a word of advice to to people in the township in particular, because those who are the ones that are complaining a lot about service delivery?
Well, ward committees are very important because they play a very key role in representing the interest of different stakeholders within the community, but the entire community in general. So they are extremely important because they help in terms of highlighting issues that relate to service delivery.
Someone told me if we have a DA councillor with an ANC, full of ANC ward committee members or whatever it is, it will further delay service delivery. So it's always ideal not to have ward committees, or if there's a ward committee, ideally it should be people who are aligning to the same political party, just to adhere to a party line. Do you subscribe to that notion?
Ward committees are political. They don't subscribe to any political party. It's stakeholders. Your school governing bodies, your clinic committees, your traditional and cultural groupings, your NGOs, so they are not political.
So people should not worry. People should not worry about who they are voting for. They could just vote for anyone. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what I'm saying is ward committees are apolitical. You don't vote people on the basis of which party they represent, because in those processes they don't represent parties. They represent stakeholders, organizations that they are coming from.
George Matjila, thank you very much for the time you've given us, and good luck for the motion of no confidence as it sits in council.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's the regional secretary of the ANC in Tshwane. They are fielding a very serious motion of no confidence against the mayor. People are saying because they are involved in tenders. Jackie Ace, who's the MMC of Finance, has said this is because. But let me allow you to listen to what Jackie Ace has said. Thank you very much. And the mayor, of course. Sharp, sharp.
The ANC has yet to file a motion of no confidence. It lamented the city's institutional decay. But the DA says the party lacks a legitimate case for action against the mayor.
This became clear to me earlier this week when I received a call from the regional secretary of the ANC in Tshwane, George Matjila. Matjila was extremely upset after a new tender has been awarded for waste contractors in the city. The tender now specifies that there is performance requirements in place and that trucks should not be older than 9 years, that these trucks should have tracking devices, and that the truck should have a valid e-notice documents.
ANC leaders have vehemently denied this.
Are you talking about trucks, or are you talking about the contract with the city? Because if I have a truck, it's nobody's business. Do I have a contract with the city? No, I don't have any contract with the city. Here is the headquarters of the city. After we have left here, you can just go and check if I've got the contract with the city.
The DA says subcontractors resisting the new rules are the source of the agitation.
We are not construction delinquents whereby we can't read the paper. Ne? We understand what is the requirement of the city. We are complying with the city. Brink maybe has people that he has on standby that are ready to buy those new trucks to provide and participate in the economy alone. That's what we are fighting for here. He is proud to announce that he has cut contractors by 60%. Who is the 60%? Because 60% is black people. Who is those people that he's not allocating enough trucks to the township? Those are black people are not participating. So he's ready to empower the city in the suburban areas, but never the township.
The ANC says it's forging ahead with the motion of no confidence.
They are failing to pay ESCOM. They submitted a clumsy document for exemption. ESCOM have kicked it out. So we are saying we gave them a chance. We are not bitter losers. We gave them an opportunity to serve our people. They can't do it, and they can't. So we are going to stop it and remove this mayor.
A says she has reported Matjila.
ActionSA's Herman Mashiaba has revealed that there are ongoing talks between ActionSA and the ANC in Gauteng province.
I am really talking to the ANC to see how best we can stabilize the metros of Gauteng, because it's really very critical. Without Johannesburg working, South Africa cannot work.
Mashiaba says he feels betrayed by the DA.
DA stuck a knife into ActionSA on so many occasions. You can imagine, Samkelo, I left my business, left my family, working with them to ensure that we can bring a better future for our country.
ActionSA is amongst the political parties that didn't show interest in the government of national unity and the newly formed Progressive Caucus that has committed to hold the GNU accountable. Previously, ActionSA leader said he would never work with the ANC, deeming it corrupt to the core.
No, I must work with the ANC. Yeah. I'm saying no, there is no way it's going to happen. If a thing like that happens, I'd rather actually step aside and allow someone else to run, because I can't be expected to work with the ANC who are committed. I went into politics to remove them. How can I then work with them?
Political analyst Dr. Lee Vindo says he's not shocked by the developing stance of ActionSA.
They still feel aggrieved by the DA, the IFP and other political parties for having joined the GNU. And for ActionSA to still play a meaningful role in the South African body politic, the best for them, in my view, is that is why they've opened up the communication channels with the ANC.
Dr. Ndo further says ActionSA feels politically isolated.
Some of the parties who were in the Moon Pact are now actively participating in the government of national unity. And ActionSA is isolated and lonely and not having a huge impact in the South African politics.
Meanwhile, ActionSA will hold a press briefing on Monday to outline its next step after its two-day Senate meeting, which has, amongst others, looked into the next step.
The mayor of Tshwane, Brink, may be facing a motion of no confidence in council this week. The ANC is threatening the motion, citing a deteriorating state of governance and financial mismanagement. Mayor Brink joins us now. Good morning to you, Mayor, and thank you very much for your time. The ANC plans to table this motion of no confidence later this week. Do you believe you face a credible threat to your mayorship?
So let me just say that motions of no confidence are things that the opposition can bring, and that's important that a government be able to answer that motion of no confidence. Nobody is exempt from them. But what is very clear in this particular instance is that this motion of no confidence is not driven by concern over service delivery. It is driven by new performance requirements for waste removal trucks and contractors, which threaten ANC interests. And ironically, those new requirements are aimed at achieving better service delivery. So trucks that are not older than 8 years, so that they don't break down as much, tracking devices in trucks so that we can see what they're doing, that there's value for each invoice that is paid, trucks that have got e-natus papers so that we ensure that contractors of the city don't break the rules. Now, as to your question, the credible prospect of a threat, our coalition government in the city of Tshwane does have a majority, but it's a majority of 2. So in general terms, any government with such a slim majority is at risk, especially if there are fears that people might be induced to vote in a particular way. But I'm quite confident that we can hold our coalition together, and also that we can answer the case of how things in the city of Tshwane, both in the financial and the service delivery front, are in fact improving and not deteriorating.
Since you weaved in the national picture, I just want to quickly go to this and then we'll come to the substance around the truck drivers, Mayor Brink. President Cyril Ramaphosa's speech at the beginning of, or the opening of Parliament last week, signalled collaboration in both provincial and local government. How do you interpret this expected move against that backdrop?
So I think it's just important to say that it's not in the country's best interest, and certainly not in the interests of what President Ramaphosa and the government of national unity now tries to achieve, for the city of Tshwane to be governed like we've seen the city of Johannesburg being governed and the city of Ekurhuleni being governed. So it's very important to make that point. This is the capital city, just like Johannesburg is the biggest economic hub of the country. But I also just need to point out that we don't have an agreement with the ANC in Tshwane. Our agreement is with our multi-party coalition partners, ActionSA, Freedom Front Plus, IFP, ACDP. And there is no requirement that the ANC should refrain from bringing a motion of no confidence.
Yeah. But it does kind of, allow us to read the situation as the kind of limitation on goodwill. That goodwill exists at a national level, even though you're not in a coalition, provincially speaking. The goodwill necessarily does not extend to local government politics. I want to go to the issue that you talked about. It's about these lucrative waste collection tenders. You've explained what that's all about. But elsewhere, we've heard with complaints from the truck owners, for example. They say that they are not being paid on time. There are these new requirements now for the quality of their vehicles to be at a certain standard. They've taken out loans to upgrade their vehicles, but not being able to service those loans because of payment delays. They say they are losing out. Have you addressed them directly? Because I know that, as you say, this is just about the loss of a tender and risk that's motivating this potential move from the ANC. But have you spoken to some of those stakeholders? Have you addressed some of these concerns that I'm sharing with you now?
So there's a new tender. The old service providers, if there are any payment issues, they know what sources and what channels to follow to address their issues. One of the issues that we do want to address is that there must be evidence of a certain level of performance before we pay invoices. One of the requirements I mentioned is that a tracking device is installed in the vehicle to ensure that the city knows where that truck goes, and the movements of the truck is then submitted with the invoice. So it's exactly because we want to ensure that there's proper performance and that the money we spend on behalf of the people of Tshwane, in fact, delivers value. I have not addressed contractors of the city. I think it would be inappropriate for me to do so. I also didn't serve on any panel to decide on any tenders. This is a decision made by the city administration, the city manager, and there necessarily needs to be a separation between the directives of a politician and contracting decisions. My directive and the directive of the coalition here in Tshwane is that we want value for money. We want to ensure before we pay an invoice that the work was actually done. The job of the city manager and his administration is then to follow the prescripts of the law and to make sure that that tender is regular. Nothing that has been presented to me has told me that this tender was irregular, that the requirements are outside of the law. Remember, we have to look at serving the people of Tshwane, the 4 million people, the 4 million residents of the city who complain that dirty streets need to be cleaned up, that there has to be regular bin lifting, and that is our focus. And I just want to reinforce this point. The businesses, the vast majority of the businesses that meet these requirements or that have been presented with these requirements have been able to comply. It's only a small minority who's not been able to comply.
Right.
But listen, if you do business with government, if you want to deliver services on our behalf, you must maintain high standards. That we can't budge on.
Let's go to the service issue since you brought it up as well. You said in your State of the Province address that water would be restored to places like Hammanskraal. What is your message? Well, I think by the end of 2024 was in your message. What's your message to residents in Hammanskraal, in Bronkhorstspruit, Mamelodi, Soshanguve and Atteridgeville who have been without clean, available drinking water? What progress on the Steve Biko Academic Hospital? There's overcrowding and understaffing there. What progress on infrastructure upgrades in communities across the city? I mean, we know very recently the iconic Tshwane Event Centre, which is known as the Pretoria Showgrounds, that's deteriorated significantly, and markedly the IEC relocating its results operations centre to Johannesburg after years of hosting the event there, and that potentially presents, obviously it does represent lost revenue to the city. Just talk to us with those sort of pillar points as a way of addressing some of the concerns of residents in Tshwane today.
So just to emphasize, you mentioned the Steve Biko Hospital. That is a provincial hospital. Obviously, local government doesn't have competencies over those hospitals. We do have clinics, but you do raise important issues around water. In Hammanskraal, we're working with the National Department of Water and Sanitation to upgrade the Rooiwal wastewater treatment plant. The first tranche of 150 million rand has been paid. The DBSA has been appointed as the implementing agent. We're making progress in the fencing and securing of that site, also making progress in finishing the first phase of the upgrades. Our most immediate priority is to improve the quality of the effluent. At the same time, we know that the people of Hammanskraal can't wait until 2026 in order for us to fix a substantial part of Rooiwal's operation. And that is why, as we announced last year, we are working with the Department of Water and Sanitation and Magalies Water to get a package plant operational on the Pinaas River. The first tranche of that water purification capacity, 12.5 kiloliters, will come online at the end of September. I look forward to meeting with the new Minister of Water and Sanitation, Pemi Majudina, and to maintain the same good relationship we've had with the previous minister. As for Mamelodi, the problem with the water there is not that it's unclean. The problem is that due to illegal connections driven by unlawful land occupation, that reservoir 3 and 4 is tapped, so that you have people who pay their bills down the line in Mamelodi who have to get up at 1 o'clock in the morning because the water is depleted. We have now secured that site in the sense we've built a fence. We're in court to get evictions. The point here to emphasize, it's illegal land grabs that have caused the situation, but we are determined to secure that site, to ensure that illegal connections are disconnected, and to get water to those households down the line as soon as possible. Let me just emphasize this point. At the heart of improving service delivery in Tshwane is improving our finances. And on that score, we've improved our financial sustainability. The ratings agencies have pointed this out. We've been awarded by Salga and Gauteng. Our efforts have been recognized. No, we have not yet accomplished our financial rescue mission, but we've made significant progress. Whoever wants to govern Tshwane, whoever wants to be the mayor, will have to do the things that we are doing now. And I'm not convinced that the ANC or some puppet mayor will have the resolve and the determination to push through and implement the key decisions that we have been making.
It sounds like you're asking residents in the city to kind of to give you time that the system is returning to health. And I want to return to this theme in just a moment. I want to deal with one more criticism and then we'll sort of round things off. Earlier this year, you dismissed claims that over 2 billion, I think it was 2.6 billion rand in capital grants had been withdrawn from the city by national government. You said it didn't happen. This was about 635 million rand in unspent capital grants, and we're defending the case for why it shouldn't be returned to the national fiscus. For the residents' benefit, what is the status on that today?
So certainly the entire amount of the city's capital budget is 2 billion. We didn't lose that amount. And what I said to you previously is exactly right. We did, like other municipalities, forfeit a significant part of it because we didn't spend that money quickly enough. It was 50 million. It is 50 million that we should not have lost. But unfortunately, that is the case. And our response to that is to make sure we put systems in place, not just to spend money as quickly as possible, but to get value for that money. The deputy mayor chairs a capital projects committee, and what we have is far tighter oversight and control over spending, but also the value of the spending. We ended the last financial year, which was the end of June, by spending 92% of our capital budget. Obviously, we want to be at 100%, and we are slowly but surely making the improvements to ensure that happens. But I want to emphasize once again, spending money is easy, but getting value for that spend, that is the real challenge.